Soul Tribe, this week is looking busy. We have Mars and the Sun that are getting ready to transit into new signs. The Sun is getting home, so that's nice. But we have a lot of opportunities here for change, for letting things go, for new beginnings. Yeah, new chapters and new flows can begin this week. So stay tuned to find out how to work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just epic, gang. And it keeps us thriving. And for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and I'm happy that your higher self has brought you here. We're in for an amazing journey. And what I do on these videos here are that I do weekly transits that talk about these celestial aspects that are happening in the sky. Kind of go over the chit chat that's going on with there so we can better prepare for the energies ahead. And if you're wanting to know where these energies are coming up, pull these planets up in your chart, look by the house system, or look by the houses to see where these planets are transiting through, to see the themes that are lighting up for you and to find the aspects. And if you're wanting to see how these energies are working more closely and more personally with you, check down in the description box below. I have a link to book a free consultation call with me so we can discuss some things concerns that you're going on. Maybe this upcoming Mercury retrograde here, which is coming in here soon. We're already in the shadow period. But if maybe this Mercury retrograde, you want to see where that's going to be happening in your chart, or what Mars moving into this new sign means from you, definitely check that information down there. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Now let's get into this week here, because I'm going to be covering over the week from July 18th through the 24th. And let's start off with, because we're starting off hot, coming in on Jupiter Day. That's going to be a Thursday, the 18th, at about 7 a.m., and that's going to be Pacific time. We have the Sun forming a sextile with Uranus, a harmonious aspect, and this is happening at 26 degrees in 25 minutes. The Sun is in Cancer and Uranus is in Taurus. Now, with sextiles, or when the planets are 60 degrees apart, when the energies blend really nicely together. So you can think about Earth and water usually blend together, or unless they're opposites, of course. But think about it as like Cancer, Taurus, or Leo, Gemini, Aries, Gemini. So it's usually like these elements of water and earth and air and fire that are formed these things. And they can fuel each other very well. There's this Earth that's Uranus providing, this opportunity of, maybe you're sensing something with Cancer, something's not sitting right with you anymore. You're feeling that your values are shifting. We're talking Taurus in that realm. And, maybe this could be something as simple as maybe a food isn't sitting with you. Both Cancer rules over the stomach, and Taurus being associated with the mouth. So maybe this is something that, we need to cut out a food out of our diets. Or this could be where, maybe even something as deep as maybe you value your health and you want to quit smoking, or you want to quit drinking, or you want to form healthier relationships, possibly, change how the receptivity is being come up that's happening in relationships. Wherever this is coming up for you, there is this flow here for change. And I feel with the Uranus, that shocking factor, I feel like it's more so how easy it can be when we put that intention to. It might be a rocky start at first, but once we start laying that foundation, things can flow really smoothly. And I feel Jupiter being a day of expansion anyway, I feel this is a very great way of setting intentions like that, where something just not sitting with you anymore. Because later that day, at about 4:57 p.m., Mercury is going to be forming a trine with Chiron. And this is happening at 23 degrees 30 minutes. Mercury is in Leo and Chiron is in Aries. Now, a trine is when the planets are 120 degrees apart, and that's usually when we're talking like elements. So we're talking fire elements, water elements, earth elements. They're going to form a trine with one another. And trines are harmonious aspects. They're energies of, think of them as flow, as of new beginnings. And when we're talking with Mercury, this Mercury in Leo, this Leo could be had a certain way that it thought about itself, that it thought maybe it needed to appear, or a way it needed to show up, or needed to act in a certain way. And now with this trine here, you have this realization with that Sun sextile Uranus. And so now this is a time to maybe heal any sort of like ingrained, because with Mercury and Leo, that's a fixed energy. Leo's that fixed fire, and so now this can be a time for you to move out of maybe someone thought that you were always supposed to be a doctor, and now you go off and you're like, I want to start my own vet place, or maybe I want to go become a professional bowler, or whatever this is. This can be where you just do some healing to your self-confidence here. Aries and Leo are both very strong leadership energy, so this can just be one where you can just feel in more authority of your life, that you're creating your destiny, that you're creating the pathway to where you're wanting to go and where you're wanting to grow. So I like that, how they're kind of starting off this week here. Now, on the next day, and I feel like that's a great energy, to carry over into the next day, because on Venus Day, Venus is actually going to be the highlight, and it's going to be pretty early. So I feel like set an intention, depending on your time zone, set an intention for whatever changes you're wanting to do, wherever you're sensing, that day, be receptive to where you feel your value shifting, where you're feeling like, this doesn't sit right with me anymore, and where you want to change, because at 3:56 a.m., Venus is going to be trining the North Node, and this is going to be happening at 9 degrees and 33 minutes. Venus is in Leo in the North Node in Aries. So now we're still talking about this strong sense of self. Both Aries and Leo are about, Aries is like I am, and honestly, Leo is who I am. They're both very much about this going for life here. Like really kind of, how do I want to put this? There's no restraint as far as like to what life can offer, I feel like, with those two signs. When you have Aries starting the cardinal fire and Leo being the fixed fire, you start this change off here, and then that Venus and Leo, you really value this thing, you really want to nurture this thing. So now you can sustain it with that Leo power. You can really kind of hold what the cardinal initiated there. And the North Node is our guiding point, in our destiny. So look at where this is happening in your chart. This could be a really great way for expansion. For example, for me, this would be happening in my 9th house with Aries and my 1st house with Leo. So there's an opportunity for me to maybe figure out some kind of travels there. And actually, that's actually really funny. I'm actually going to be going out of the country. Wow, I'm actually going to be taking a trip for my first trip, actually, out of the country. And this is not a big one. We're talking about going to Canada. So I actually am going to take that. I'll see how fascinating this could be. I hadn't even really thought about that. But so that's just something, that could come up for you, getting that, starting to attract the energies that you want now in a small way, so that bigger things can start coming for you. Because my big goal I want to is to go to Africa. That's one on my list. So again, see where you want to get things moving, and then use that Venus and Leo to get creative with this energy. How can you create something? What are some natural abilities that you have? Use that charisma, that Leo energy, to get the energies where you need to. It's not necessarily manipulation, but it's just this. It's this movement. I love it. Now let's get to Saturday, because this is a really nice one too. Mars is going to be the feature on this day. So on Saturday, the 20th of July, we have at 8:17, Mars is going to be forming a sextile with Neptune, who's retrograde. And this is happening at 29 degrees and 50 minutes. Mars being in Taurus and Neptune is in Pisces. So when you have like Mars in Neptune, this is an opportunity to, with that Neptune retrograde, reflect on what are some things that maybe you didn't wish you had started, or maybe that how do I want to put this? Maybe something was seeming a little unclear of how you were going to get somewhere at first. So the details seemed type of foggy. But now that we're forming with this alignment here, this Mars is bringing this Earth energy, and they're both at the final degrees of these signs. This could be where just something starts to make sense. Like the idea still may be forming, but you just like intuitively know, like, okay, maybe if I reach out to such and such, they can bring me to this thing. This is an opportunity to make some moves happen, to kind of I feel like to really, not to kind of, to trust that, to any sort of intuition. So if you get any sort of like downloads, to maybe look into a different course or look into a different, I feel like this is an opportunity to get like a focus as far as like where your intuition is wanting you, is trying to guide you. Because I feel like if this energy isn't quite grounded, then later this day it might be, let me talk about the next energy, because at 1:41 p.m. Mars is going to enter Gemini. So like right after they have this conversation with Neptune, Mars is entering this Gemini, and the mind, the energy is moving up to the head now. You know, we're thinking a lot. It's like, okay, where am I going to go from here? It can be really scattered. So that's why these first couple of days here leading up to this can be really great for setting the intention, because then you can really take this Mars Gemini and be focused. Instead of like doing a bunch of random things, you can maybe do balance a couple of things at once that are supporting one another. You know, maybe you're taking a school that also provides an internship. I'm just throwing out some stuff, for example, but I feel like when Mars enters Gemini, this is where things can, you very strong mental energy here. And the interesting thing is, during Mars's time in Gemini, he's under the rulership of Mercury. And Mercury is being in Leo, but Mercury is about to go retrograde here soon. So majority of this retrograde is going to be, or the majority of Mars's stay in Gemini, Mercury is going to be retrograde for this. And I don't necessarily think that that's like a negative thing. It can be how you can work, I feel, with that. Mercury's slowing down when Mercury's retrograde. We're going to be talking about here on they go retrograde on the 4th, so that's when we'll talk about that. But that energy allows us to slow down. And I feel with Mercury retrograde, with Mars in Gemini, it can create this, really come up with some real kind of creative ways to work with these energies, to really tap into how can I refine some innate gifts. You may need to learn some new things, but it's like you're not building from scratch, I feel, with this Mars energy. You know, if you've really been intentional, been allowing your stuff to kind of feel like where's my intuition kind of leading me, then I feel like you'll be able to channel this stuff in a way that you can learn things very quickly too. With Mars and Gemini, things move really fast. But on the flip side, I feel that if there's not a focus, you could be mindful about being scattered with Mars and Gemini. The energy can be a bit capricious. You're here one minute, you're there the next, you're there, you're just kind of zipping all over the place. And with where things are happening right now, I'd be mindful about being overwhelmed. Another thing too, Gemini, is how we communicate. And being that is in Leo, and again that they were going to be going on this retrograde here for a majority of the time, I feel like we want to be mindful of how we're coming across. Gemini is a very powerful, words are powerful. Gemini can be a glib energy, and even though you may have said something that, oh, you just seemed like a little harmless thing, that could stick with someone for a long time. Maybe you're talking to someone with a Mercury in Scorpio or Mercury in Cancer, someone who doesn't forget things, and then they're going to hold that for a long time. Or maybe, and it's just being mindful of how things will land. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily that, it's not that we're curtailed. It's just like being just being mindful. You know, I don't think I have to really kind of go, I don't think I have to go too much into that. But, you know, just things can land harsher with Mars. I guess that's more so what I wanted to mean. So just being mindful of that and paying attention to if others are doing that. You know, if you're seeing a lot of heat come up, it's just like, you know what? Hey, I don't know if you've heard Mercury's retrograde, and we're not doing that. That's not how this is going to fly. So just something I feel like to be aware of, not to try to not get caught up in because I feel like this is a lot that may be brought up here. You know, with these energies, maybe there's some things that are moving with that trine and Chiron that we may not want to deal with, or not everyone is wanting to deal with it. Again, everyone works with these energies very differently. So as we move, when we come into a fresh energy, we just want to just kind of be mindful, just like let everyone kind of settle in, practice a bit more patience, and just bring a little more awareness to the day. Now, on Sunday, the 21st of July, we're going to start off really early with the full moon that's happening at 29 degrees and 8 minutes of Capricorn. I'm not going to go into that too much. I talk about that a lot more on my other channel, The Chariot and Friends. So if that's something you want to look at, I pull up the chart details for that. If you're wanting more details on that, check that out. I have a link down in the description box for that. But this is a very big full moon. You know, it's happening. The moon is conjunct Pluto. And so there is some things that are changing permanently. You know, this is the degree that this moon is falling on is very fascinating. I find that, yeah, there are a lot of changes that are going to be happening on, I feel, just on in the collective, of course. There's a lot of, I feel like, individual changes that is going to lead to a lot of very noticeable, big changes. So this is where being mindful and being intentional can be very beneficial for you and for everybody. Now, a little later that day, at about 1:43 p.m., Venus is going to be forming a sextile with Big Papa, Jupiter. And this is happening at 12 degrees and 30 minutes. Venus is in Leo and Jupiter is in Gemini. And so this can be an opportunity, I feel honestly, one, to just learn a lot about what do you want? You know, what lights you up? You know, where do you see yourself growing? You know, when you got to that full moon, there was some realizations here that maybe we've been holding back in this regard. Maybe we need to take more responsibility for this, for making something manifest. And now Venus and Jupiter are giving you the tools to do that. Okay, maybe you want to become a great musician. You know, maybe, okay, so now let's see if we can find maybe a course, or maybe you can find a teacher or something along those lines. Maybe you're wanting to go back to school for something. You know, this could be finding like maybe different grants or creative ways of finding resources or something along those lines. Talking with friends, if parents are available, whatever, spouse, what. But when the benefics are in that sextile energy, and I feel like with Leo and Gemini, this is one of using your creative gifts. Because Leo is a sign of creativity, but it's not just like the sense of like the great creative. It's those abilities that you're natural with. You know, someone can be a genius at math, or a wizard with, cars, or, those can be some kind of Leo traits. Those just things that you're, great with people, great with those inherent things. So this could be a time, that's why I say, to learn about what you're wanting to bring to the table. And there could be some tension with that about how to maybe integrate that, what that future looks like, because a little bit later at about 3:21 p.m., Mercury is going to be forming its first square with Uranus. There are going to be 3 of them that's going to be happening with Mercury going retrograde. Mercury's going to go from, I think it's like 4 degrees of Virgo back to, I think, 21 degrees of Leo. And so Mercury's going to also be talking with Chiron. There's going to be opportunities to heal through this as well, to get through this. But this first square with Uranus that's happening at 26 degrees and 32 minutes, Mercury in Leo, Uranus in Taurus, there may be some, it's like we have these values, but we're not sure how they're integrating on us, how we can find a way to make that work that's sustainable, possibly. I have something like this natally between Leo and Taurus. My midheaven's in Taurus and my Mercury is in Leo. And so there's always this tension as far as like, where do I want to go? How does that look? And it can be a bit tough sometimes to try to find that creative outlet. But Taurus and Leo, again, are very creative. Taurus is very resourceful, very receptive. So we kind of tune into, I feel like it's this, with the Uranus and Taurus, think about the big picture. Hold that in your head. And I feel like it's not necessarily letting the Mercury, I feel like, almost improv a little bit, like kind of let things come up as they come up. I feel the ideas will start flowing. Just maybe create something like maybe like some sort of vision board if that's your thing, something kind of like write some sort of list, something to kind of ground these things. Maybe even talking with someone about this stuff to kind of help get this vision down. But I do see this too as maybe because this story is going to have a very interesting ending. I feel like there's a lot of internal things that are happening, a lot of personal stuff, a lot of opportunities, because there's a lot of inner and outer planet conversations that are happening in this week. And I feel that in this, maybe there could even be a tension between others as well. Like I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and we're both standing really firm on something, and neither is wanting to budge. And so there could be some tension there. So I'd just be mindful of that. But later that evening, at about 8:25, the sun is going to be forming a trine with Neptune, and this is going to happen at 29 degrees and 49 minutes. The sun is in Cancer, Neptune is in Pisces. And this, I feel, with all these things that have been going on, with this energy, or however this energy has been leading up for you this week, I feel that this can be a great energy to just kind of sit. We just got through this full moon. We've been processing a whole bunch of things. What does this mean? Because after that, the next day, and I'm going to talk about this next, the sun's going to move into its home sign of Leo. And when it's in Cancer, especially at this last degree, this is we're reflecting on everything that has been going on within us, what we've been feeling. And then in Leo, that's when it's going to express itself, when the sun will come alive again with new, fresh energy and understanding of what it has to bring to this world. And so this can be, I feel, a great time to tune into where you feel like you're wanting to go next. What does that, when you visualize this future, do you see yourself in this? Does that align with who you are? Like this can be a time to really kind of melt those boundaries between your, this future self and you, and this present self, and being in that energy. Just surround yourself in that and really see what do I need to do in order to, what does my day-to-day look like? That's how I feel like it's very interesting what I'm picturing here. Again, it's Neptune. So as I'm talking about it, it's like there's this ethereal energy that's kind of over, like, okay, this is where my higher self would be doing this every day. Like, okay, maybe making more time for meditation, maybe putting in this, doing this study here, whatever that's looking like. And I feel like you'll understand what to do with this energy, because shortly after, at about 8:47, Mars, freshly in Gemini, is forming a trine with its higher octave, Pluto, retrograde. And this is happening at 0 degrees and 53 minutes. Mars in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius. And this is very exciting energy, another critical degree when we're talking about the 0 degree. This is very fresh energy. Now, Pluto's been here. Mars it's been a couple years since Mars has been in Gemini, but Mars has not talked with Pluto in this energy, where things have been flowing like this. The energy's not moved, That's what I feel like, personally. I feel like there has been this thing collectively that is happening. The energies are shifting, and it's very noticeable. And I think that this can be an opportunity to work towards that higher octave with Mars, to learn more about that higher octave, to go not just pay attention to that Mars in Gemini, how you communicate in your immediate environment can really ripple again to the Aquarius side, the collective, the network, or the group setting. And so I feel that if you're in a group that you notice the energy is exacerbating, it doesn't promote this growth, this could be a time to move on from that. That could be what was ending at this full moon, possibly. Or this could be letting go of any sort of like limiting beliefs, possibly, learning how to face your fears. Maybe you get into therapy, or maybe you learn some different practices. You get into start reading some self-help books, possibly, or this could be just a really constructive time with this Pluto and Mars energy. I think it'd be very powerful, because Pluto's going to go back to where that full moon degree is, and I feel like really kind of pick that apart. And so this really cathartic, very freeing energy with this. And I feel like this Mars, when it understands what its higher octave is wanting to do, your guides, your angels, tap that third eye, whatever that's looking like, then Mars, I feel, just moves light in Gemini. It's free to explore what it's capable of, what it's meant to do here. So really be in its power and know and understand your power. I love that. Now, last day here on a moon day. Moon days are emotional days. Monday, the 22nd of July, at about shortly after midnight, about quarter to 1, about 12:45 a.m., the sun is going to enter into Leo. And the sun is at home in Leo. So the sun, after going through all of this stuff, is now, okay, what do I do with that? I learned a lot. This Cancer season has brought up a lot of energy. And now the sun is just like, who am I in this? When I wake up, depending on what time zone you're at, it's just like, okay, how am I going to go out into the day? If this is daytime for you, if this is like when you're like, even before you're going into the night, like, where do I want to channel my energy? When I wake up, how am I shining bright? How am I expressing my natural gift? How am I living in my joy? How am I leading with my heart with Leo? And this is a time where, feel confident in that. Stand up straight in that. Leo is associated with like the spinal sheath, the heart, Leo can be very empowering. The sun is very warm in Leo. The sun appreciates life in Leo. Yeah, just said like this is an energy to kind of burn off let that Cancer energy evaporate and allow yourself to just be hey world, this is me. And hold that energy, because later that evening, it may be, see how this day goes, because at about 10:37 p.m. the sun in all their glory and all this just this sunshine forms an opposition with Pluto retrograde. And this is at 0 degrees and 52 minutes. Sun in Leo, Pluto in Aquarius. And this is an interesting axis that this is falling on, because this is kind of that creative axis. Aquarius could be that creative genius, and Leo is that expression of that genius and flow. And what I feel is that, you may have this, let's say, for example, you decide to quit drinking. And then that turns, your friends go to invite you out. I don't know, maybe you were, maybe you're just having your day off. I used to turn up on a Tuesday back in the day. But it could be where you friends invite you out to something. You're like, no, I'm actually trying to do this stuff. And they're like, what do you mean? When did this happen? I didn't know all this. And of course they didn't know all this stuff. There were things that were going on. That's why I feel like there was a lot of internal things that were happening. Communication can be an important thing to this, because now, you're coming with this fresh perspective, and now the world is just like, whoa, okay, like, let me process this new Leo person. You don't have to have your sun in Leo, but this new Leo person. Oh, and actually, I'll go ahead and since the sun is going to be entering in Leo, happy birthday is going to do it. There it is, balloons for you there. If you happen to have your sun in Leo, happy birthday. I hope you're getting ready to live it up, to turn it up, and that this one is just bright and that you're feeling in your energy. But I do feel that even though you may meet oppositions with Pluto is saying that stand in your strength. You've gone through this. Do we really want to compromise ourselves in order for the group? Is this the group? Can the group meet you on this? Can you meet how the group has changed? It's not just you that's been changing. Like I said, everyone's been changing. And so how do you receive how everyone is changing as well? That's going to be a big question for this. And I feel that how we can process how we've all collectively are going through this, that we're all under the same sky. Granted, it's showing up differently for us, but if we can all go in with that perspective of we're growing through this together, I feel we can go into this Leo season really coming into our authenticity, bringing more joy, leading with more heart, and just shining brighter, being this beacon, picturing this collective light here, just this collective sunrise. I love that. So I think I'm going to leave that there. leave that on that little lovely note. So a lot of energies here. And if this is a lot coming up for you, talk with a friend, or however you need to find out how to process with that. Work with your moon placement. Find out where your moon sign is. That can be a great way of learning how to tend through the shifts that may be working through, or that may be going on through this stuff here. So, but I think I will leave that there. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. Seize the day and the night. And I will catch you on the next one. Mercury Day.